God is present in our lives at all times. We often think that God is with us only at specific times, during prayers, or on religious occasions. But the truth is that He is around us every day, every moment, guiding us in subtle ways. His communication does not come in a specific language. He speaks through signs, experiences, circumstances, and the voice of our own conscience. Sometimes these signals are so gentle and subtle that only attentive
When we feel
and
the
mindful
cool morning
individuals
breeze,
can recognize
when the
them.
first rays of the sun touch our face, or when raindrops fall on our skin, these are all messages from God. His purpose is to remind us that we are never alone. Everything in creation has a purpose. Every falling leaf, every fragrant flower, every bird's song points us toward the deeper meaning and lessons of life. At times, God's messages come through life's challenges. When we face problems or crises, fear, worry, and helplessness arise in our soul. But it is precisely in these moments that God guides us the most. Life's difficulties are meant to teach us patience, courage, and wisdom. When we make the right choices and listen to our heart and conscience, we realize that this guidance was always for our well-being. The deepest language of God is through our conscience. Our inner voice helps us discern between right and wrong. If we listen to this voice during meditation, prayer, or contemplation, clarity and peace come into our lives. It is through this inner voice that we experience God's messages directly. To hear God's voice daily, we must keep our mind pure and positive. Negativity, anger, worry, and fear block us from hearing His messages. When we express gratitude for small blessings and experience love and compassion, our mind becomes more receptive to His communication. Every person, every event, every experience in life is sent to teach us something. We only need to recognize them and pay attention to their messages. God speaks every day, but we must remain alert and attentive to hear Him. He never speaks loudly. He guides us through gentle, subtle signs. Sometimes these signs appear in our dreams, sometimes in our thoughts, and sometimes in the events of our daily lives. If we bring even a little mindfulness and awareness into our lives, we can hear His messages every day. It is important to remember that God's messages do not come only in moments of joy, but also during times of difficulty and sorrow. When we face a challenging situation and resolve it with patience, courage, and wisdom, it is a direct inspiration from God. Every challenge, every success, every failure in life is part of His communication. The simplest and most effective way to hear God's messages is through meditation and prayer. When we meditate, turn inward, and calm our mind, we can clearly feel His guidance. Prayer is not merely the recitation of words. It is the voice of our soul, expressing our experiences, worries, and gratitude. When we pray sincerely, His messages become clear in our mind and soul. Even in the stories of life, God's signs are clearly visible. Imagine a person who constantly faces difficulties. Every time he feels discouraged, someone unexpectedly comes to help him, or an opportunity arises before him. This is not a coincidence, but a sign from God that we must maintain faith despite challenges. Similarly, our small mistakes often teach us greater lessons. God guides us through these experiences to show us the right path. Practicing daily communication with God not only brings mental and spiritual peace, but also clarifies the purpose and direction in our lives. When we learn to recognize His signs, no decision in life feels difficult. We understand that our actions, efforts, and decisions align with His guidance. The path of life may be challenging, but God's presence is always with us. We must understand that God speaks every day, but listening is our responsibility. When we truly listen, our lives change. Our perspective, thinking, actions, and relationships all improve. We begin to see life with a new outlook, demonstrate patience and courage even in difficulties, and consider every experience an opportunity to learn. Regular practice is essential to hear God's messages. Morning prayer, meditation, self-reflection, and expressing gratitude all make our mind and soul more receptive to His communication. When we practice these regularly, it becomes easier to hear His voice every day. Gradually, this becomes a habit, and we begin to sense God's presence in every experience of life. God speaks every day, He is with us every moment, and His messages manifest through our soul, thoughts, and actions. We only need to remain mindful, recognize His signs, and follow His guidance. Hearing Him is not merely a practice, but an art of living. Remember, His signs are never loud, yet their impact on our lives is deep and lasting. When we hear God's voice, our life is filled with love, peace, and balance. This is not just a spiritual experience, but a REA.